Hi everyone. We are here today to present to you our topic, which is Equity for All Earthlings, which is a social movement that we created for our class. And the reason why we created Equity for All Earthlings is because we wanted to educate consumers, which is all of you guys, about the decisions that you're making and how they can affect yourself, society, and the planet. And so our goal for this presentation is to make you guys maybe when you're going to buy your foods more aware and choose a more plant-based diet and whole foods. So the reason why we think that it relates to this class is because this is a nutrition class, and a lot of evidence and research that we found is about meat, dairy, and eggs, and a Western diet is very much related to nutrition. And 14 out of the 15 leading causes of death are actually scientifically linked to eating meat, dairy, and eggs. So we just wanted to go a bit more into detail about that later, and we want to talk about in our presentation speciesism and how all other forms of oppression are connected.
Okay, so as Equity for All Earthlings, our core philosophy is that all forms of oppression against sentient beings, including but not limited to humans, are intertwined and closely related to each other. At the base of all oppression and inequity, we believe, lies speciesism. And here's a disclaimer. It is your choice whether to use the information we present to you and implement it into your daily lives. We are not trying to impose our beliefs on anyone, and we are also not trying to generalize all forms of oppression.
Okay, so speciesism. So some of you may ask, what is speciesism? So speciesism is the discrimination against or a perceived group of people, so in relation to another. So we want to talk about human superiority and how humans make animals feel inferior, and it's justified that we can use them for our enjoyment, for our entertainment, and to eat every day in our lifestyle.
And our core belief is that this mentality of speciesism is analogous to all other social issues, such as racism, sexism, LGBT+ oppression, ableism, and classism, and should be treated as such. And human privilege. Human privilege is the fact that within society, humans have an advantageous and prioritized moral position in relation to non-humans, resulting in human life and well-being being valued, but it being acceptable for non-humans to be commodified and treated as inanimate objects. We must be conscientious of this privilege and understand that species should be included when discussing intersectionality.
Okay, so here there are two images. The first one says, "This earth was made for all beings, not just human beings." So what this picture is trying to get at is that a lot of the times we feel as though it's justified to exploit animals. So for example, the elephant, a lot of people are using the tusks and the ivory for their own human purposes, which is not right because the animals don't have any say in that and control over their lives, and humans feel as though it's okay to take advantage of them. And this one says, "The question is not can they reason, nor can they talk, but rather can they suffer." And what it's trying to get at here is that it doesn't matter what animal it is, doesn't matter if it's a marine animal or a pet that you might have like a cat or dog, or a pig or a cow or chicken that you would eat every day. All animals at the end of the day, like humans, we all feel pain and we all suffer. So what it's trying to get at is that we need to treat all animals and human beings the same.
We believe that all earthlings, regardless of species, deserve to live lives free of unnecessary oppression and injustice, just as all humans, regardless of ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, class, or ability, deserve to be treated fairly and equitably.
Pretty much what this picture is trying to get at is that on this side we have a woman kissing her dog, and the dog is someone who we welcome into our house and we treat them like our family members and we include them in our daily lives. And so this one is a picture of a woman biting a pig's ear, because this shows that sometimes we love these animals, but then we also treat these animals with no respect, and we exploit them just as we would while eating our Western diet. So yeah, does anyone have any feelings or anything else you want to comment on that?
And it has also been found that pigs are highly intelligent creatures, and many other livestock animals are also very intelligent. They have social hierarchies.
Yeah,
they
such
feel
as
pain,
chickens.
they feel happiness. Yeah. All right, so This is a classic example of what we call cognitive dissonance, which is the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. As you can see, this woman is walking a dog while wearing coyote fur, which is a product of unimaginable suffering. This goes back to the question, why value one species' life over another? And is a fur-wearing animal lover really an animal lover? This person's beliefs clearly contradict her actions. The same is true for the vast majority of animal product consumers. If we do not want to be speciesists, then these beliefs and values must be reflected in our actions, and in this case, in what we buy and what industries we support. After all, every dollar you spend is a vote for what you believe in.
Yes, and also I'd like to mention that the reason why a lot of people feel as though it's justified to wear, specific brands like Canada Goose and exploit animals and use their fur and geese feathers is because it's become socially acceptable in our society. A lot of people wear it and we all think it's a trend, and if everyone allows it, then it's okay, then it's justified. And the same can be said about the Western diet. If everyone eats it, then it's justified, so it's acceptable.
And the same is true about, past oppression, such as like segregation and stuff. People thought it was the norm, they accepted it until they were shown that this is not right.
Okay, so how not to be a speciesist is to go vegan. So for those of you who don't know what a vegan is or veganism is, so it's a person who does not eat or use animal products. So these products include meat, dairy, eggs, and honey. And besides eating animals, you're not also allowed to wear animals. So that includes like silk, fur, leather, and we're not allowed to use animals in any form of entertainment, such as camel riding, horseback riding, zoos, or aquariums. Well, this got a bit cut off here, but what we want to explain is the different. This is a fruitivorous diet, and this is a human's mouth. We want to explain how humans are designed to eat specific foods. So we're designed to eat fruits and vegetables, and that's what our body naturally digests. And so a lot of people say that it's okay to eat meat and that's what we're meant to do. But really, when you look at that and you see all the explanations here, we're actually meant to eat a more fruit diet.
Yeah, and a lot of people use the excuse of, well, we have canines, but all herbivores and all frugivores have canines. We wouldn't be able to eat things like apples without them, so.
Okay, so veganism and the health of the self.
Alright, vegan diets have been shown to lower the overall risk of developing many of the major killer diseases, which take millions of lives each year. Eating animal fats and proteins have been shown in studies to raise a person's risk of developing cancer, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, hypertension, heart disease, and a number of other illnesses and conditions. The fat and protein content of cow's milk, for example, is very different from human milk, leading some experts to suggest that we are not designed to consume cow's milk. Men with early stage prostate cancer who make intensive changes in diet and lifestyle may stop or perhaps even reverse the progression of their illness, according to one study published in the Journal of Urology. Another U.S. study involving 500,000 people found that red meat and processed meat eaters die prematurely more frequently than other people. An article published in Food Technology in October 2012 explained that vegan diets either minimize or completely eliminate people's genetic propensity to developing chronic diseases, such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. Whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and legumes contain no cholesterol and are low in fat, especially saturated fats. They are also high in fiber and many other nutrients.
And something else I want to mention that Lil said is that as humans, we are not designed to drink a cow's milk. The only reason why people drink cow's milk to this day is, like I mentioned, it's socially acceptable. Cow's milk is intended for a baby calf to eat, a baby calf to drink a year after it's born, and what it's supposed to do is it's actually supposed to make them bigger and double them in their size. And also, people wouldn't drink elephant milk, cat's milk, dog's milk, camel milk, horse milk. The only reason why, like I mentioned, is because society allows it, and so we think it's acceptable, so we continue to do it.
Alright, so As you can see, and contrary to popular belief, it is actually quite easy to meet all nutritional requirements on a vegan lifestyle as long as the diet is calorically adequate and sufficiently varied.
Okay, so a lot of vitamins and minerals people worry about are, of course, protein, omega-3, calcium, vitamin B12, vitamin D, and iron. And as mentioned over here, we have made a list of a few options for vegans in a way to get all their nutrients. And something else that I want to mention is that if you guys, decide to go vegan or vegetarian, you should be aware that meat is very calorie dense. So when you switch to a plant-based diet, you need to consume more quantity of vegetables because they have less calories in them than a piece of meat would, or eggs, milk, etc.
Alright, so along with the studies which seem to prove the health benefits of a vegan diet, there are also studies which contradict the evidence which shows that a vegan diet can be superior to a non-vegan one. But however, the overall consensus is that well-balanced, calorically adequate vegan diets, which consist mainly of whole foods, are healthy for people of all ages and backgrounds, and for people in all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, as well as for athletes. Some vegan athletes who have set world records or have become world champions include martial artist David Meyer, figure skater Megan Duhamel, ultramarathon runner Scott Jurek, professional wrestler Austin Aries, and strongman Patrick Babunia.
Okay, and we have a video here that we want to show you all, and it's by Gary Yourofsky. And for those of you that don't know him, he has a speech called The Greatest Speech Ever. So if you guys aren't convinced by us to go vegan, I would highly recommend checking that out. It's about 1 hour and explains in detail about animal suffering, what it's doing to the environment, and how we are abusing animals and why it needs to stop.
And Gary has been an animal liberation activist for the past 20 years.
Hatred that we teach children, and what do you say to people who go on and reply to that with saying there's far worse stuff, like people are getting raped and murdered and stuff like that, and say like we should deal with the human suffering before we worry about the animal suffering? How do you respond to those comments?
Well, they're missing my point completely. What I'm saying is that if you got rid of speciesism, you wouldn't have the rapes. You wouldn't have human suffering. You wouldn't have racism, sexism, heterosexism, anti-Semitism, classism. Again, if you teach a child growing up that a spider, a mouse, a chicken, weak, even insignificant beings in many ways, deserve their right to be free, when that child grows up and encounters different sizes, shapes, and colors of humans, how are they going to learn to hate? Because that's what it boils down to. Sizes, shapes, and colors. So if you teach peace from the beginning, you get rid of racism. So the root of all that hatred, the rapes, the tortures, the Holocaust that have been going on, not just to the Jews, the Armenians, and many other groups of people around the world, you got to attack the cancer at the root. And we've learned to kill and torture each other effectively because we practiced on the animals first. So I will say again, if you want to get rid of the human suffering, get rid of the animal suffering, because we've been trying to get rid of human suffering for thousands of years. No success, not even close. So how about we stop the old pattern and do something new? Get rid of the old, try something different. Try putting peace into your body instead of death and discrimination and torture and violence. Because that's what happens in a slaughterhouse. It's horrible. These animals are terrified. You make your body a walking graveyard of violence, and you wonder why we're a violent species? And people wonder why I say during my speech we're a sick, twisted mistake of the species. Look what we do to the animals, and then what we do to each other.
Yeah, so just going off of what Gary said, we believe that speciesism stems from the same social conditioning used to convince people in the past and in present times to be prejudiced towards people of color, Jews, indigenous peoples, women, members of the LGBT+ community, and so many other groups of people. However, as Gary said, if people were taught from a young age to respect the lives of non-human animals and treat them as moral equals by simply living a vegan lifestyle, then how likely would they be to have prejudice and believe to be inherently superior to other humans? We strongly believe that Ethical veganism is synonymous with universal equity and utilitarianism and is the ultimate form of social justice, as it by definition is based off of non-violence and respect for all sentient beings. We believe that if veganism were to become the norm, meaning if speciesism were to become uncommon, then all forms of oppression would cease to exist in parallel with it.
Okay, so now we want to talk about veganism and the health of the world. So, animal agriculture devastates our planet, and it is a leading cause of global climate change. So this industry is far more destructive to global warming than most people think. So that's mainly because 65% of nitrous oxide emissions, which are greenhouse gases, is 296 times more destructive than CO2, is a result of livestock. So a lot of people say that they're an environmentalist, or as you mentioned before, an animal rights activist, but you can't be a meat-eating environmentalist. And the facts are shown here. So meat production contributes to a leveling of 80% of the Amazon rainforest, wasting 15 trillion gallons of water per year. And in the next slide over here, so we compared the amount of water that it takes to produce a meat eater's diet, a vegetarian diet, and a vegan diet. So as we can see here, it takes less water to produce a year's worth of vegan food than it does to produce a month's worth of meat eater's food. So if you want to, take shorter showers, that's fine. That's a good way to reduce the amount of water you're using, but you should also look at these statistics and what they say. So you could go from using 4,000 gallons of water to 300 gallons of water significantly. And vegetarian diet, it does reduce the amount of water that you use, but if you want to have the greatest impact on the world, then you should definitely switch to a vegan diet.
So, animal agriculture is also a great contributor to the damage to our oceans that's being done. It is the leading cause of ocean dead zones, which are areas in the world's oceans which have suffered from such a reduction in oxygen levels that complex life forms cannot exist. They comprise about 95,000 square miles of areas of the ocean which are completely devoid of complex life. This is because animal waste pollutes the water, and through a complicated process depletes the amount of oxygen in the water until it becomes impossible for complex life forms to survive there. If we destroy life in our oceans, we will destroy ourselves with it. Animal agriculture is also the leading cause of species extinction, water pollution, and habitat destruction. So-called ocean conservation organizations, such as Oceana, advocate for consumers to buy sustainable seafood. Unfortunately, there is no such thing. We must cease fishing entirely and allow our oceans to recover. There is no other logical option.
Okay, so currently right now, the Earth cannot sustain 7 billion people following a Western diet of meat, dairy, and eggs. And every year, over 2.5 million kids under the age of 5 die of starvation. So you might be thinking, how does veganism and speciesism, what we're talking about, relate to world hunger? Well, it relates to world hunger as the farming methods used to produce meat, dairy, and eggs are unsustainable as they require many natural resources. So for example, I mentioned water, and another one would be the amount of land that they use. And when cattle are killed and turned into food, only 12% of those calories make up in the human diet. So that's 2/3 of the number of calories that would have been available to humans from the start if we consume them directly, and they are lost by getting our nutrients through animal products.
So in summary, the calorie conversion from the plant foods that we feed animals, which is like 70% of the entire crop amount that we grow, feeding this to the animals is very inefficient. It's like the efficiency of it. It's like we would get much less calories if these foods are filtered through the animal than if we just ate these foods directly and fed animals what they naturally would eat, which is grass.
And this way people around the world would actually have access to food. And it's said that if everyone in the world went vegan, world hunger wouldn't even be an issue today. So, going vegan is a privilege and an obligation. So what we want to talk about here is that all of us are living in a Western country in the western part of the world, and as a person living in North America, we have rights and responsibilities which we must fulfill. We need to advocate for those most in need and who need it the most in need, such as people in poverty, as shown in the previous slide. And going vegan is a privilege because we actually have the ability to choose what we consume and what we put in our body. Many people are just happy to receive food on their plate and the fact that they are alive and still standing to this day. But since we can choose what we eat, this is what we should be eating: vegetables, legumes, grains, fruits, nuts, and seeds, and following a vegan plant-based diet, because that will be the best for ourselves, society, and the world.
It's literally win-win-win, like a win-win situation if everyone would go vegan. It's just a fact.
And that's our work cited. So thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
When did you decide to go vegan?
So I went vegan in August, but I went vegetarian in June. And the reason why is because I watched a lot of documentaries. So I watched like Forks Over Knives is a really good one. Oh, you guys will watch that?
Did we watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on it? Okay. So another good one is Earthlings, and that talks a bit about speciesism and also cowspiracy. And I feel like once you find out this information and you have access to it, it's hard to ignore these facts. You know, before I didn't know about veganism or the detrimental effects that it had to the planet, but once you discover it, it's your right and responsibility to take this information and act upon it.
What's the biggest challenge you've had being vegan?
So I think veganism is as hard or as easy as you make it, but I would say something that's a bit harder is maybe when you're traveling to countries that are not as vegan friendly. But also maybe going out with my friends. Sometimes I might have to research the restaurant, look up the menu, but for the most part, restaurants are pretty accommodating, and you can ask them to just make it without butter, without cheese, so it's not too bad.
You? Any other?
I went vegan about 2.5 years ago, but I made a lot of mistakes. I wasn't eating enough, stuff like that. But no, it's been an amazing experience.
Do you guys supplement with anything?
No, I don't take supplements. I mean, like, we've got like blood tests, and obviously the nutrients that we want to watch out for more are like vitamin B12. So usually for that, I would have nutritional yeast or fortified like plant-based milk, like almond milk or soy milk. So yeah, and the other ones you can generally get from eating a whole foods plant-based diet.
Yeah, B12 is the biggest.
Yeah.
Helps with your energy levels.
Yeah, because it's found in like the soil, but due to how we're farming today, it's not possible to get it.
Yeah, the soil is it's been depleted of the nutrients, so even if we did eat dirt like we naturally would, like our ancestors would have eaten, we still wouldn't be able to get enough global warming.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Any questions?
It's a very quiet class.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Alright, thank you so much, guys.
Could you go vegan? I won't be here for a week.
You want to make it for me?
Yeah, for a week. Hard second.
Yeah, okay, just the easiest way to go vegan, I say, would be just do it gradually. Some
Yeah.
people go vegetarian first and then go vegan.
Yeah, you don't have to go like cold turkey. You can even start with like maybe meatless Mondays. And another good tip is to get your friends, family members involved, because I think it makes it a lot better if you're doing it with someone and you can make recipes and cook together, and it's a really great journey. So if any of you guys want more information about maybe how to go vegan, how to get started, then you can feel free to ask us. So
Like our Facebook page, Equity for All Efforts.